Hi everyone, it's Mel here and welcome back to Mel's Blind Life, the YouTube channel all about blindness, for another equestrian video. It's been a while since you guys have had one. Today we're going to talk about catching and leading a horse, both in a general sense, and I'm also going to give some tips about doing it as a blind person. For those of you who have clicked on this video because of the title, as you can see by my white cane, I am a blind equestrian. I'm completely blind with absolutely no light perception or anything, and I've been riding and working around horses for almost 7 years. In the background we have my mare Maggie, who is a standardbred. She's nearly 15 years old, and we will go and catch her and I'll teach you how to do it. What I do with my support worker before we've even got out of the car when we arrive is I ask, who's here? How many cars are here? What's everybody doing? We will come in to the stable block and arena area and we will assess who's around. As we're walking down the laneway, my support worker will inform me of any obstacles, anything that's changed in the areas that we're going to be operating, to make sure that I'm safe. It's always important to do a little risk assessment with yourself and your support person to make sure that you know what's going on before you even get your horse out of the paddock. So before we can catch the horse, as someone who is vision impaired, we need to find the paddock. We are currently in our laneway. Back towards behind the cameraman woman is the barn and the stable area. I always come out here with a support worker or a friend to make sure that I've got all my safety kind of covered off. I've learnt the way around this property because I've been adjusting on this property for over 2 years now. It's closer to 3 years. So I've learnt the feel of the ground and my orientation around to find the paddock. I know approximately how far it is. We have little hints as well. Along the laneway there you can see that we have rubbish bins next door to each gate to pick up the manure in each paddock, and I can actually echolocate those bins as I'm walking past, so I can count them. The other thing is the ground itself. I know how the texture of the ground is to know where I am. When I know that I'm approaching my paddock, I'll come onto the grass here and I'll actually run my cane along under the fence and count the poles, or find the poles, until I find the gate. So that can be another way that you can find your way around as well, is by feeling the fence with your cane. Do not touch the fences unless you know that they are not electric. As you can see, my horse is here waiting for me. I'm going to grab my head collar, which is actually kept on my gate here. Safety precaution, if I ever need to urgently catch the horse, I don't want to have to walk all the way back up to the tack room to get a lead rope and a head collar. Never leave the head collar on the horse when it's in the paddock, because the horse can get the head collar caught on fences and things. So now that the head collar is off the gate, I'm going to ask my horse to step back away from the gate so that I can get in and I've got space. I'm going to open the gate away from the horse. Very important to open the gate away from the horse, guys. I'm going to step in and I'm going to close and lock the gate behind me. Okay, so now that I'm in the paddock, I'm going to catch the horse who's over playing with her food bucket. Some horses you can just call them and they will come. Maggie, come on. Good girl. She's come and she's touched my hand with her nose, so I know that she's here. Good girl. I'm going to step across and stand next to her shoulder, and what I've done to keep her here is I've just gently put my hand up under her throat latch, both so that I know where her head is and where I am in relation to her head and her body, and also, like I said, to keep her here. I'm going to bring the rope over her neck. I'm going to pull it up to underneath her throat latch where I've just had my hand. Now I'm going to bring up the head collar. I use a rope head collar, so there's no buckles to do up, but there is a knot to do up. So as you can see, I've got my rope up at the throat latch. Now, I didn't say this a minute ago, but the reason why I've done that is because the higher up the neck I sit the rope, the more control of the horse's head I have. So I'm going to grab my head collar now. I'm going to identify the noseband, which is this piece of double rope here. I'm also going to identify the piece that will come over behind her ears, which is this double piece here. I'm going to turn it around so that the double piece that's going to go behind her ears is on the right hand side. I'm going to find her nose and I'm going to bring the noseband up over her nose with both hands on either side of the nose. I'm now going to flick the rope over her head and tie it. The way that I'm going to tie it is, see this loop here where my right hand is? I've got my right hand with the two fingers opening the loop. I'm going to put the long piece through the loop and pull it tight. I'm also going to make sure that the head collar is sitting nicely on the horse's head in a nice tight but yet comfortable position. Now that my rope is through, I'm going to put my finger between my long piece of rope and my loop, and I'm going to bring the rope around my finger and I'm going to grab it from the front and pull it back through the loop that I've created and pull it tight. The long end of the rope must be pointing towards the horse's tail. If it's pointing towards the front, then you've tied it wrong. I'm going to pull my head lead collar back over my horse's neck. I'm going to fold my lead rope in half and then I'm going to pull it back to be in thirds. The reason why I've done it like this is because this is a longish lead rope. I don't want it to knot up, but I also don't want it to be so long that I'll trip on it. I'm going to take the 3 pieces of rope in my left hand, and in my right hand I'm going to hold the single piece of rope which is connected to the horse's head. I'm going to hold my hand out flat and curl my fingers over the rope. You'll see that none of the rope is curled around my hand to make sure that if something goes wrong, it doesn't pull around my hand tight like that. Safety precaution. The other thing that I've done is I've made sure that my right hand has the rope about a foot away from the horse to make sure that the horse has enough room to move its head and to walk respectfully with me. So I'm going to use my cane to find my gait. Now that I've found my gait, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlatch my gate and I'm going to walk through with the horse. The horse is going to come around and we're going to do a 180-degree turn. If you've got a support worker with you, the support worker needs to be at least 1 to 2 horse lengths away from you while you're doing this process. So my support worker has stood back while I've gone through the gate, and she's now walked to the first pole of the fence of the paddock next door to me. I'm now going to step over here and shut the gate. I've got all of my lead rope in one hand at the moment so that I can use my other hand to close my gate. Now that my gate's closed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my rope back in my left hand how it's meant to be. I'm going to get my cane in my left hand as well. I'm going to ask my horse to rein back so that I can get onto the path, and we're going to walk. Now, as you're walking, you need to be using your cane to feel where you're going, and you also need to be making sure that your horse isn't pulling ahead. So you can see Maggie's walking at a nice respectful distance from me, and that she's not pulling me. You can see now the position that I've put her in. She is actually in a bad position here because she can pull me. She can walk across in front of me. She can basically do whatever she wants. So I want to make sure that I know where my horse is at all times and only give her that foot, 10 inches to a foot of rope, so that she's walking nice respectfully with her head at my shoulder. So as we approach the next part of laneway here, it's very important if you're walking with a support worker that you have the support worker showing you where to go, but also in a safe distance. My support worker is the person holding the camera, so you can see from your point of view that she's about 1.5 to 2 horse lengths in front of me, but she's still guiding me because I'm listening to her footsteps. Now, it's best to work with your support person, your instructor, and your orientation and mobility skills if you are a blind person, to find the best way of doing this method. So now we're coming up to our know where the entryway is because I've heard my support worker go in front. I'm making sure that I'm more left than right so that the horse has got enough space. So I've found where our stable entrance is. I've stopped the horse a little bit back so that I can find the door and open it.
To the right.
Thank you.
Bit more.
Now, I've got to make sure that my horse is straight and that the horse enters the stable first. So I'm going to have a quick feel with my cane where her feet are. And she looks pretty straight to me.
I'd agree.
So I'm going to, hold on. I'm going to allow her in first and then I'm going to follow. She's turned around. I'm going to go up to the wall here where our hay band is. Found our string here that we're going to tie her up to. I'm going to follow my lead rope back to the start where it's clipped onto the horse. I'm going to double it over again. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke the 4 quarters of the lead rope through the baling twine string, whatever you want to call it. So I've created a loop in the baling twine. Then I'm going to grab the long half of the rope which is not connected to the horse. I'm going to bring that through the loop that I created in the baling twine. Then I'm going to grab the long part that's connected to the horse. I'm going to give it a bit of a pull so that it pulls tight. So now what will happen is the horse can pull and pull and pull and pull as much as it likes, but it's not going to get untied. But if I pull this bit that's not connected to the horse, it comes undone. So in an emergency, I can just pull it and she'll come undone. The other thing for someone who's blind or has low vision is to always make sure that you're in a safe place. Sometimes I use the outdoor tie-up yards that we have on this property to brush her and tack her up and things like that. But most of the time I use the stable. The reason for that is because my horse and I are inside an enclosed space where nobody else can come, and therefore we're safe from other horses coming along and people coming along and things like that. So as you can see, I've moved into the open area. I'm not in the stable now. The reason why I've done this is to show you what I mean by me as a blind person being in an enclosed space. We have lesson days here and there are lots of other agistes who can come in from the main doors there into our indoor arena here. If my horse and I were tied up in this position where we're standing now, we're a lot closer to different horses coming in and out, and it could pose a safety risk. The reason why it could be a safety risk for me is because my horse could decide to turn around here like this, good girl, and try and kick another horse that was coming in. Bye-bye. The other reason why it's not the safest place is because she's a big horse and she takes up pretty much all of this walkway here between the two stables, and so there isn't enough room really to get around her, which makes it dangerous for her because she could get a fright, makes it dangerous for other horses because they could get a fright, or she could get a fright and they could all get a fright about each other, or she could suddenly decide to move out of another horse's way and pin me against the wall. So that's why the stable or a tie-up yard, which I'll quickly show you, is a safer place for my horse and I. So these are our little tie-up yards. They're big enough for one horse and one person. As you can see, it's a nice, safe, enclosed space to give yourself extra security. You can bring the chain across so that you're fully enclosed. The reason why an enclosed space is good for me as a vision impaired horse handler is because it just eliminates some of the risks. When there's lots of people around, lots of horses, lots of movement, I can't always see exactly who is where and what their horse's body language is doing, not to mention controlling my own horse's body language. So it's just safer that I'm inside somewhere and out of the way with my horse. So when we do have horses tied up in the breezeway here, I'm not always going to know where they are. If I come along, I could run into the horse, which is tied up in the breezeway there, and cause a safety issue for myself and the horse. So it's important, if somebody does have their horse tied up, that they communicate with you. It's important that they communicate with you anyway. Oh, hi Mel, I'm here with my horse and it's tied up in the breezeway. I'll just get out of your way. Or, hi Mel, it's someone with their horse. I'm just coming out of the arena. It's very important that you communicate with a blind person in everyday life, but especially when you're in the barn dealing with a 600 kilogram animal. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to Mel's Blind Life and click the bell notifications. And I'll see you next time.